I'd like to tell you about our presenter of the Vanguard Award to Sandra Oh. This is Sarah Barnett.
Yay, Sarah.
Sarah Barnett, yes. Sarah Barnett is the president and general manager of BBC America, which airs this fine program, Killing Eve. And she's a groundbreaking person in her own right. This is pretty neat. She's in charge of the overall creative and brand strategy, production and development, digital strategy, and overall marketing for the network, which basically just, she's a badass. That's what you need to know. And since she first assumed this post, Sarah has guided BBC America through a period of unprecedented growth and critical acclaim, including a Best Actress Emmy for their smash hit, Orphan Black, which had its final public event right here in this very theater a year ago, and that was awesome too. Prior to joining BBC America, Sarah was the head of Sundance TV, and this is kind of cool. She launched its new scripted strategy with Carlos, and Carlos is, I think, when the next histories of television are written, we're going to be talking about this, an audacious miniseries that was ahead of the curve culturally in that it did two really important things. One was it was a truly international production with dialogue in English, French, Spanish, Hungarian, Italian, Arabic, German, Russian, Dutch, and Japanese. That was a globe-spanning series, and it also blurred the line between cinema and television, which we talked about at a panel yesterday here at this festival. It played on television, and a version of it played in theaters, and critics got into arguments about it, trying to decide if it was television or a movie. And I was privy to that in awards discussions at the end of the year, because I write about television and I write about film, and I got to hear it from both ends. Is this television or is this a movie? And at Sundance TV, a lot of Sarah's things that she oversaw were in that same vein, including Rectify, Top of the Lake, and The Honorable Woman, which is a fantastic piece of work. And it became known among general audiences and reporters alike that if, basically this was what I call an O network, by which I mean every single week there's new shows. There's like, Netflix alone will put like 21 new shows up in 7 days, and they brag about it on their banner page. And I see that, and I think, and I actually said out loud when it said, we've debuted 21 new programs in the last 7 days, and I said, are you trying to kill me? I actually said that out loud. So when you're deciding what to watch, that in itself is a struggle. But if you hear Sundance TV or BBC America, you go, oh, because you know from past experience that it's going to be probably really cool and interesting and not like anything else on TV. And now with Killing Eve, starring our one and only honoree, I think Sarah might have hit a whole new level. This show is not just a success, it's a cultural phenomenon. When I told people that we were going to give an award to Sandra Oh, they were like, whoa. Whoa, I mean like an entire nation of Chris Farleys now over this performance. So without further ado, I give you the amazing Sarah Barnett.
Yay! Gosh, thank you, Matt.
Sorry.
Can you guys hear me? Is this on? Yeah, okay. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode, yeah? Was it the first time for many of you, or had some of you, was it the first time for Killing Eve? Some of you seen it? Yeah, it's really not. It really isn't about it, but it is all available to binge on bbcamerica.com or on the app. So check it out. Okay, so now it's my great pleasure to introduce this woman. Killing Eve's genius creator and writer Phoebe Waller-Bridge once described Eve Polastri, who you just met, as a truth seeker. She can cut through all that shit. Looking at Sandra Oh's career, we can see a distinct parallel. Sandra seeks truth in every role she plays. She has a long history of these very human, vibrant performances that are grounded in honesty, of cutting through all that shit to get to the heart of the human core of her role. A Sandra Oh character may be any mix of the following: funny, warm, determined, vulnerable, intelligent, steely, falling apart, pulled together, capable, klutzy, but they are never just one thing. Like all of us, like real complicated humans, Sandra's characters all contain multitudes. She has the astonishing ability to make us feel like we know that woman on screen. She's our childhood best friend, our neighbour down the street, our dependably funny co-worker, or our sister who moved to the UK, became an MI5 operative, and is obsessively chasing a mercurial, psychopathic, occasionally charming assassin. Many of us were first introduced to Sandra when she played hilariously clever Rita Wu for 6 seasons on HBO's Alice. It was very clear that this woman was such a breath of fresh air, excelling across any medium she played in, from her brilliance in films such as Double Happiness, Under the Tuscan Sun, and the Oscar-winning Sideways, to the 10 years she spent playing the beloved and iconic Christina Yang on Grey's Anatomy, where she received a Golden Globe and 5 Emmy nominations. And with her roots in theatre, Sandra has been seen across world stages with performances in Dog Eaters at the La Jolla Playhouse. Sorry, I'm British, I don't really know how to say La Jolla.
La Jolla.
La Jolla, sorry, excuse me. Playhouse, Office Hour at SCR, and Death and the Maiden at Victory Gardens Theatre. And Sandra has been a repeat presence here in New York City at the Public, where she performed in Diana Sun's Stop Kiss, which earned her a Theatre World Award, as well as Satellites, directed by Michael Grief, and most recently, Han Song-Young's Wild Goose Dreams. So this daughter of Canada has been a master scene stealer, and yet at the same time, an utterly generous performer since the beginning. And on Killing Eve, as you just saw, she leaves nothing behind. As Villanelle is Eve's biggest fan, so we are Sandra's, though in a less scary, obsessive kind of way. This woman is a one-of-a-kind, truth-seeker artist who can cut through all that shit with amazing hair to boot. Ladies and gentlemen, I am beyond thrilled to present the 2018 Vanguard Award to Sandra Oh.
Hey. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Sarah and to Matt and Rafaela and everyone here at Split Screens and everyone who came to watch. Thank you so much for coming. You know, Matt and I were talking. It's like in this age of like how much is on television. It's
overwhelming.
The response to Killing Eve has just really been truly incredible, and I have to thank you guys for getting the message out there. And if I could just take a moment to thank everyone at BBC America and AMC, especially Sarah Barnett and Nana Rodriguez and Gina Mingaci and Sally and Lee at Sigental, who produces Killing Eve, and the wonderful Luke Jennings and Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who created Eve. So, thank you.
Great. So how are you feeling? Pretty good?
I feel good. You know what? I do love the chit-chat. I love a chit-chat.
Yeah.
I love a question. I love a chit-chat. I love meeting people.
Excellent. Well, we're going to have plenty of that here.
Okay, chit-chat.
I can absolutely guarantee it. So what do people say to you about Killing Eve? Like people on the street, people out in the audience say to you about it? I'm sure everyone in the industry loves it. But when someone recognizes you on the street, what do they say?
You know, I actually don't read much. It gives me a tremendous amount of anxiety, and it also takes you out of kind of what you do. But the personal interaction, which is I think what you're asking about, which has been popping up much more now for me, has been, I'm obsessed with the show. I'm obsessed with the show. And that people have that terrific obsessive, like I want to watch it and eat it all at once.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really terrific. And also, people have been excited about it in a different way. Mostly that it's kind of like really delicious. Yes. Like it's the delicious and a little naughty.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, it's what I call a dorm room wall roll. In other words, it's iconic, and it's the kind of thing people would put a poster of it up in their dorm room. Like a Pacino in the 70s kind of part. It is. It's like people do become obsessed with that particular kind of part. And when lightning strikes like that, has lightning struck for you in this particular way before, ever? Is this unique?
That's a very good question, and it's subtly different. I think one, you can't plan when something hits or not ever, right? And the way that you fall in love once is not going to be the exact same way that you fall in love again. But I will say, I've had a tremendous good fortune in my career, and one of them being Grey's Anatomy, because that was, again, you can't plan that. You don't know if it's going to hit, but it did hit. And then I kind of took a little bit of a break, and then when I came choosing, Killing Eve, you just don't know. Right. But it was lightning in a bottle.
When you first got the script to this and you read it, what did you think of the character of Eve, and you know, just what was your feeling about
Eve?
Yeah, being considered for a part like that?
Well, there's a couple things. What I thought about the character of Eve was immediately I felt I understood Phoebe's voice.
Yeah.
Like immediately off the page, I could tell this is a different tone. There's a definite multi-dimensional quality to this character, and mostly I felt like I got her wit, her specific style of it. So that's what I kind of loved her messiness, Eve's messiness, and how Eve is actually quite an unconscious character.
There's 3 layers to this that fascinate me, and I want to take them one at a time, if you'll indulge me on this, because 3 things that to me make this different from other stories of this type. Number one, usually when a story of this type is told, it's like it's the detective trying to catch the bank robber in Heat,
Correct.
or it's the profiler trying to catch a serial killer in everything Thomas Harris ever wrote. But usually, with the exception of like Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs, you rarely see women in this, and you almost never see 2 women. You never see the main objective of the quarry is usually not a woman. Usually the investigator isn't either. Can you talk about that a little bit, the emotional valence of that? Like just to be able to inhabit those roles that are usually just marked property of guys.
Well, I just don't think about that.
Yeah.
No, honestly, like why? Why think about that?
Yeah.
You know, because I think what you're talking about is like, oh, there is this genre that has basically excluded you for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you think? I don't think about them.
That's healthy.
What was so interesting to me about this part was it was clearly a psychological folie à deux with these 2 women.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't really going to veer off of that.
Yeah.
So a show that's going to specifically examine that point of view was fascinating to me. And then I guess that's why it's so different, because it's specifically. It's not like it's just a detective and a serial killer, and it could be anyone.
Right.
It has to be these 2 women because it's an examination of the female psyche.
Right, and the archetypes that they
Yes, and
even from the very opening scene with that little, the little girl eating her sorbet.
Yes.
Yeah. From that point
Very
onward.
telling.
Yeah, it is. It
Very
is,
telling.
and it's also a thing. I was talking to Sarah about this backstage. But one of the things I love about this show and about shows like Top of the Lake, I mean, it's a diverse, like the kind of shows that I'm basically kind of in the tank for. They all fall into this category. Like Atlanta, Mad Men, Twin Peaks. They're all like that, where they exist right on the edge of being metaphorical. But they have plausible deniability, like where if you said like that opening scene, for example, like you could write a whole graduate thesis just on that. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge might go, she's just a kid eating sorbet. That's all it is, you know.
I love working in the metaphor. I feel like definitely a lot of my work now, I live in that. I feel like it's a big part of my creative process. So for Eve, you have, the practical, she's kind of hunting this person down. But on a kind of on an unconscious level, what is she really hunting down? What is she either trying to kill? What is trying to kill her? So I love swimming in those waters.
Were you ever asked to do an accent? Did you ever consider doing one?
What, in my career?
No, in this role.
Oh yeah. So when I was talking to Phoebe early on, I was like, oh, it's set in London. Is she British? Do you want me to do an accent? And they said, oh no. She goes, no. No, and I think because it's a BBC America show, and even though it's a very English show and it's a very European feel, I think they wanted to have a grounding American element to it to kind of bring people over, and I think that was Eve.
And then here's a level of it that I find the most kind of startling to me is it's funny. It's funny. It's really funny, and in fact, it took me by surprise because I read the description, the kind of a general description of it, and when I put it in, the very first introduction, the first scene with Villanelle is funny, but it's funny in kind of a dangerous, like almost James Bond, Atomic Blonde kind of way. So that's well within what you expect. But then they introduce you, and that is just it's a laugh riot. I mean, and it doesn't prepare you for the depth of the obsessiveness that your character portrays. Can you talk about the humor of that and balancing the humor with all the other elements that people expect from this kind of a cat and mouse tale?
Sure. I think a part of that was the difference in tone that I felt like I saw from the very beginning, which I really got from Phoebe, because it's not like jokes or humor for humor's sake. It's so deeply grounded in the character. Like say, I don't want to do any spoiler alerts, but let's say, for example, like Carolyn's character, right? So if like Fiona, Carolyn's like this, you know, but when you are, and then let's say Eve is kind of like this, every so often, like this.
Yeah.
So when you put them together, let's say in a two-shot, and you have running dialogue together, you can get something really funny, but it's extremely based in their character, because you never think that they're doing something funny for funny's sake.
No.
It's really the way that they speak, and you've seen them speak this way. They're not.
And their body language
That's
with
exactly
each other,
it, right? So that's a little bit of a difference where it's not necessarily. Oh, for me, it's when I hear the word funny, it reads to me like, oh, there's either jokes or it's for me it's more humor or character humor.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Well, all the characters are funny in the way that people are funny.
Yes.
You know, they have those idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
They do. And yet it doesn't necessarily counteract the intensity.
No,
you're always
because
looking for.
again, you're getting dimension.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting dimension, and you're getting away. Because I feel like humor is how you relate to some, how you get people to understand you, is if they can recognize themselves in you. And a lot of times it is, you know, by doing something so human.
The work.
Yes.
You know, so
Okay.
lay it on us.
So I'll work with a script like I work like with a dream. Right? You are all the elements of the script. You can go from the actual title of Killing Eve. What is that? What is killing? What is Eve? The first woman. The woman. You know, Eve and Adam and Eve. Knowledge. You start pulling apart things that for me have interesting hits to me. What's interesting? Am I killing? Am I doing the killing?
Are you the one who's being in risk of it?
Exactly. Right. So if you just work with the title. For me, it's a deeply creative process. So, have most people seen episode 5? Yes. Okay. I won't ruin it. I won't ruin it. Episode 5 is my favorite. So for me, it's 3, 5, and 8. Anyway, so episode 5. Villanelle makes a move with an object towards Eve. Very, very, right now, I'm not spoiling anything, right?
Yeah, right.
And then Eve takes this object, right?
Yes.
So example, that object I did a tremendous amount of work with, of like what, and this is like for weeks in advance. Yeah. What is it to me? Putting it on, what does it feel like?
Yes.
What is the symbol of this thing?
Yeah.
And then you just go, and it's so nerdy, but going into it, like I have
I love this stuff. This is like
really?
when the magician explains the trick.
Yeah.
I live for this.
I have a beautiful, wonderful teacher that I've been working with for about 13 years. Changed my life.
Okay.
Changed my creative process. And anyway, so I'll work with her, and then I'm also a part of this kind of loose creative collective in LA, and we will have workshops. So it'll be like in a room, right? Everyone's doing their own personal work, but let's say I'll bring in this object. Right? And however it is that I am looking to endow this object, and it'll be all silent, and it'll be like you'll move. You'll put this thing inside your body. You'll move as the object, and you're constantly in a metaphor space.
Right.
So when it comes down to actually we're shooting, there's a ton of shit going on, right? You're too busy to think. I've already done that work. It's already in my body.
Yes.
So when I pick this up, it has meaning to me.
What does it mean?
It has tremendous meaning to me. It doesn't have to have a meaning to you guys. It doesn't matter. But what I'm hopefully doing is the amount of work that I've already done, by the time that I pick this up, something's going to mean something to you.
Yes.
I don't know what it's going to be, but I trust that it will. So that's what I try and do. Then again, it's like, oh, who is Carolyn to me? What is Villanelle to me? What are the different objects that I do? Like there's also like there's a moment that Eve has a breakthrough.
Yes.
Episode 5. So there's a moment that she has a breakthrough. Really worked on that of what is it? what she breaks through? What is that? Yeah.
So okay, so I'm so relieved.
So that's really
I'm so
very
relieved to hear
exhilarating.
you say all of this because now I can ask you a follow-up, which
Yeah.
is there's a scene, I think it's in the first episode,
Yeah.
where she's in the women's room
Yes.
and Villanelle's in
Yes.
there and
Yes.
she says, "Wear it down."
Yes.
How do you read that line in that sense that you just described, where you're looking at it not
Sure.
just in terms of a line of dialogue, but what it means?
Sure. Again, so when we were doing that, we were trying to find. So my hair is my hair, and anyone so it's like not a wig. So it's not like I'm not used to long hair. And I'd say probably anyone here who has long hair, you put it up, you put it down, you put it up. And there's one thing that I always feel like is kind of like annoying, because you don't see people fiddling like women or anyone who has long hair, you put it up, you put it down, you're chatting. It's a very, very normal, unconscious thing. So when it came to this very specific moment where there's a meeting, there had to be something that was actually visual that we could potentially carry on further on, right? And my hair is pretty distinctive.
Yes.
So earlier on in the first episode or second episode, it's like you see Eve playing with her hair. You'll see Eve playing with her hair through the whole show because that's what women with long hair do.
Right.
So we ended up doing it like instead of it being up, it's going to be down. Before it was down, it was going to be up.
Right.
But I lobbied for it to be down.
Ah,
yes.
interesting.
One, I think it's more distinctive looking, but two, you know, you can go into whatever it is if you have long hair, what it means to you, you know, and also there's a certain type of. I chose to keep my hair long and my natural state because there is a frazzledness to it.
Right.
There's a natural kind of blowy kind of coming apartness of it.
Yes.
That again you don't have to play.
Yes.
Because my hair is doing it.
Yes, yes.
But you know, but those are the things that it's like if it was a much more put together character, there's other characters that I've played, you know, it's like I want it to be stick straight because you constantly have an opportunity of telling the story and being in the character at all moments.
Well, see, now that's great because to me, now you've described that entirely in terms of practical things that you can do on the set, like actions, decisions you can make, things you can do with your hands. So that it's not vague, it's extremely specific, it's a gesture or something. But to the viewer, right, I see that and I think she's put her hair down. She's put her hair down, which means she's in a less formal space and things are about to get a little bit wilder, which is exactly what happens. And also it's that wonderful, it's so interesting that that's a decision that you made in concert with the filmmakers because it rhymes beautifully with the with the killing with the hat pin.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just the whole show is filled with stuff like that. And again, what I love about it is it's not wearing its symbolism on its sleeve.
No.
It's, you could think it is and they can go, no, it just happened to be there.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the best time because it's also, if you have something that's such a pronounced symbol, that's boring.
Right.
Don't tell me as a viewer what you, the creator, are trying to. If it's much more, what's the word? Subtle.
Yeah.
Or amorphous. You get to step in and put whatever projection you have on whatever is interesting to you, whatever you want to see about it. Oh, it's going to get dangerous. Oh, it's going to get this.
Yeah.
You know. For me, it's about other things. Yeah.
When you, now, okay, so related to that, when you are reading the script and you're thinking about what your character could be doing or who they might conceivably be when you play the part, do you ever call the person who wrote the script and say, what did you mean by this? Do you ever ask for help in interpreting? Do you ever do that? Or do you just prefer to have it be your thing?
You mean working with the writer?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I work very closely with the writer.
You do, okay.
Really, really
But
closely
you're never
with the writer.
afraid that, like, your idea and their idea might be at odds and somehow
Oh, sure.
there'd be some,
Sure. But, I guess it's like, working in television, again, very different in film because film is a finite thing. And television, I think as an actor, you get to have much more input because it's a living, breathing thing. And this is what's challenging about television and what I love about television is that you start, let's say, with a pilot script, or maybe you even start with two. So you get to have an idea, but you have no idea what 8 is going to be.
Right.
So, and neither in some ways does the writer know. They have a basic idea, but depending on what they see you do, This is the kind of living, breathing
So
thing
they
that
can
I
give
love.
you more stuff to do.
Yeah, or they can see, a lot of times you'll have a pilot and you'll realize that a certain actor is great in comedy, or a certain actor, so you start writing things to their
It's
strength.
like, oh, she can play the piano. and
That's
suddenly,
exactly it.
yeah.
I think that, so then you can gain more dimension by understanding the actor. I think for something like this, I had very close conversations with Phoebe. You know, and it's also the first season of a TV show, no matter what, is bananas. It's
Right.
no matter what, is bananas. Because you don't know what it's not like you don't know what you're doing. You're in the midst of creating.
You're not done yet.
No.
No.
You know, so you're in the midst of creating. So all these things that I feel like I'm talking to people about, we're not conscious while we were doing it.
Yes.
But so all I do is that we care about it. I'm going to go over to your house. We're going to have a cup of tea, you know, drink some glasses of wine, and then we're going to act a bunch of stuff out.
Yes.
And that's my favorite stuff, is being very close with the writers and kind of like just jamming on ideas.
Well, I think, you know, just as somebody who writes about these shows, that's my job. You know, I've developed this kind of almost taxonomic attitude towards the way shows develop. And one thing I've noticed is the good shows, they know more or less what they are right out of the gate. And I think this is one of those shows. But then, if you're lucky, there's another evolutionary leap, and sometimes it occurs in season 2, and in your case, in season 1. And I think it was around episode 5 where it's a whole level up, you know, and you find it. And I wonder, do you know? And I'm not saying that's necessarily where you think it found it, but when everybody is cooking, everybody's on the same page, and you all know that you're all of one mind and you've got this, do you feel that? Do you even know it when it happens?
That's a really good question. I think the cooking is probably not the sense of cooking that you're talking about. It's when you it's like when you when I started realizing that a part of Eve is her handbag, how much I love my handbag, it was by the time like the 3rd or 4th episode that I'm always holding my handbag, that eventually you settle into, all I have to do is put my handbag on and something happens to your body, right? That you get to settle into it, you know? And I remember Jodie was talking about that she didn't feel like she really got her bearings until maybe around the 5th episode, where she kind of started feeling more comfortable. That's also just settling in being comfortable. And you know, at this point, the crew is working and has and knows each other. So in the way of cooking, in the way of being more familiar and more grounded in your characters, and because it's a very intense, it's an intense time. So you're now really in the tunnel. You're halfway through the tunnel, right? Before the tremendous exhaustion happens come episode 7 and 8, when you're pushing through, but there's another magic that happens in the fumes of it as well. Right? So, you know, 1 to 3, let's say, is you're establishing your footing and you're finding your way, and then the mid place, hopefully it's also in the writing of it. But it did happen to follow that way. Again, but it's not conscious.
I love that you're talking about the handbag, because so many great TV characters, they have items or pieces of clothing or some distinctive thing about their appearance that becomes, it's not just visually defining, but it's a bit of business.
Yes.
Then it almost represents their internal state. And like, you know, if the character who always wears a hat, if there's an episode like Justified, there's an episode where the character loses his hat. And the whole episode is about him trying to get his hat back. When he gets it back, the character is different now, because he's never lost his hat. And it's another, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, this idea of a metaphor that's not really a metaphor, it's just a handbag.
Yeah, it's just a handbag.
Right, exactly.
That I've endowed with all my dreams.
That's great. Well, and I also love that you're talking about this whole idea of treating it like as a word association, dream journal, psychoanalytic exercise, because I love to talk to actors about what they do, because you know the main thing that's important is what does it mean to you? How does it help you? If that's the way you work, obviously that's what's good for you. But like for example, Tom Hardy, before he plays any role, he draws watercolor sketches.
Beautiful.
Because he thinks the most important thing is the silhouette. He thinks like, what does the silhouette look like? And I've heard other people who write their entire history.
Sure.
Like, what do I think happened to this person before the story began, and all of that. Do you ever think, have you ever done all of that work and had it be for no good reason at all? You
What
know?
what do you mean for no good reason at all?
Yeah, I mean, like when you see the finished product and you go, why did I bother? Has that ever happened to you?
Never. Never, because the point is not for the finished product. Not for me, at least.
For you, then you mean in the moment?
Yeah.
Is where it is. Do
You know, it's like I let go of my work after they yell cut. I don't have control over it. And I'm the type of actor, at least because I just feel it's like, oh, after a certain point, actors, then do you want to write, do you want to direct? And I know a lot of actors want to expand their sense of control.
Yes.
And I totally understand that. Because as an actor, in some ways, you lose control after cut, right? But for me, that's okay. My creative work is so much before I get to set.
Right.
You know, for me, it's a lot of it is, and actually in the doing of it, right? After that's cut, we have amazing post sound, music, you know, they make me look better, you know, you're cutting stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
And a lot of times I don't like watching it because I'm so, I remember so much how I created something that for, you know, whatever it is, sense, time, the director doesn't like it, they'll cut certain things that I happen to have liked.
Yeah, right.
And it breaks my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of work that I don't watch because I want to keep it in my mind as that was the creative process, that's it, and then it's out there and it's for all you. So your question of all this work for naught, that's not it for me. It's I do all this work for that moment of that 12-hour day, you get those pages, and then you move on to the next day.
That's interesting. And so you think of it, it's not necessarily, it's a goal-directed exercise, but the goal line is in a different place than maybe we think
much
it is.
different. Much
Yeah.
different, because I just don't, again, literally, I don't have any control
Right.
after it. So you just gotta deal with it. Like that's the reality of it. But the reality also is like in these days before, what do I do with my time? How do I engage myself creatively? You know, and that goes all the way down to like, what do I eat to be able to have my energy completely focused to do that? And that just happens to be the way that I like to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? But
Right.
I love it.
Do you feel that things are different, substantially different for you now as a result of this part?
I don't know. I think my life is kind of the same.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, you're an international phenomenon. I mean, you're like I said, the dorm room. I hate to break it to you, but it's true.
Bubble, bubble. That.
I don't want to take you out of your moment or anything, but
That's always, I think, been a real tricky thing. It's a real moving.
are you afraid it's going to mess you up to know that?
No. Because I will say, I learned a tremendous amount going through the Grey's Anatomy experience, and I am wiser now and more capable in myself to know what I need and to be able to ask for it. But you know, things are very different now than it was, let's say, 15 years ago, and your question is about so many different things. But basically, it's like, how do you stay your own person?
Yes.
You know,
right, and be an artist and not feel
be
like
an
you're a commodity now.
Exactly. I feel like I have a pretty good handle on that because I feel at this point in my life, I do feel like I know who I am. Yeah. And then I do feel like I know to say, I absolutely want to come here and be with you guys fully, you know? And then there are times where it's like, no.
Yeah.
Because I will say, if I don't say no, I will not be able to do this as well as you deserve to have, you know, and that I want to give. And that takes a long time, I think, to figure out, well, who you are and how you really want to work. So there's a part of me that hears you, and there's a part of me that's totally ignoring what you're saying.
Yeah, it's okay.
But for my own
It's okay to be of two minds on that. That's a
yeah.
pretty big thing.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big thing. Well, it's, you know, for what it's worth, I think that this is a demarcating line, this series and this character. I really do. And not just for you, but for television. I really do. I think it's going to be pre and post Killing Eve. I don't think you have any idea how big this is, really. Yeah. It's awesome, and you're
Thank
awesome.
you.
And
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you so much,
All right.
Matt. Thanks, Matt, so much.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Okay.